Hello everyone. In the latest version of Rhino 8 Whip, we have released a tool that we sort of like ended up calling RhinoCode. This is basically a new code editor for Rhino that is going to at some point replace the existing sort of like code editors and scripting environments. This is the first draft of this tool that's been published as part of the Rhino 8 Whip. And we just wanted you to sort of like start playing with it and see, find bugs and see if it works with your workflows. There is a lot more to this tool that we'll talk about, but I just wanted to get you started on it. Once you opened your Rhino 8 and open a new document, you can go to the command prompt and type RhinoCode. And once you hit enter, it'll open this new code editor for you. On the first run, you'll get prompted with this question that if you want to set up Python runtime. You would want to say yes to this because this is the sort of like the first time that the Python runtime, the C Python runtime needs to initialize itself. If you have internet connection, Python package manager will install a series of packages. Otherwise, it'll install from embedded packages that we have. So you should not see any errors or bugs basically with this process. If you do see anything, please let us know. Once you say yes, the Python 3 runtime, at this point, at this sort of like release, it's 3.9.6. That's the version of Python. It's going to start to initialize itself. It deploys a series of files and runtimes and modules and all that kind of stuff on your machine, and sort of like starts installing some packages from pip, from PyPy, basically Python's package manager. Once it's set up, that'll prompt go away, and if you close the window and from now on open RhinoCode, you should not you should not see that prompt at all. And to get started, first of all, it looks very similar to the most modern code editors that you might have seen before. There's a welcome information for you. Obviously, there's going to be, this tool is still at its sort of like initial stages of development. There's going to be a lot of bugs and all that kind of stuff, but we're fairly confident with how it's looking like and sort of like in the direction that it's going. There is a post on the forum that I'll show to you at the end that you basically have access to. So leave any comments and all the sort of like, feature requests and bug reports that you want to. Go to the sort of like the top left of the editor. Here you can create new scripts or open existing script files. And the other side has buttons for save and publishing the code. I'm going to go create a new Python example. Let's start with C Python. I'm going to go create a new C Python script in here. You can see there's a little bit of information here for you. Read through them. You can sort of like install packages and all that kind of stuff through the same script. Read requirements. I'll show you an example of that. But basically, I'm importing Rhino script syntax as RS, bringing some .NET packages, the Rhino common API, accessing the Rhino active documents through under RhinoCode or rhino.rhinodoc.activedoc, which is part of the Rhino common. And to run that, I'll just go up there and hit play, and the console will open with some information in here and sort of like prints the this RhinoDoc, whatever that's set as part of that variable. In front of it, you have a linter that has errors, warnings, and notifications that you sort of like information items that you would see. A lot of this stuff, it's still under development. So if you like, for example, if you click on this, you'll see that it's expected for the editor to go to that line, but it's not implemented yet. Or if I click on top right of the window to the editor options, that's still in work in progress. The browser panel, it's still work in progress. So there's some of this stuff that are still in work in progress, but you should be able to run the scripts normally. You can close the scripts just like anything else. And I'm going to go show you two of the examples that we have. For new example, you can import Rhino script syntax. This just shows a hello a message box. If I click on that, that's the message box as part of a Rhino script syntax, sort of like API, and then it'll create a circle and two lines in there using the Rhino script syntax module. I can also run the other example that we have. And this is a sort of like a longer example, does something else. It takes some user inputs and all that kind of stuff. So you have get floating point values and all that kind of stuff. When you run it, the Rhino prompt will ask you for those questions. the scope of those values and does some calculation and whatnot. You start seeing some errors related to the way how Python.net is handling the calls into the Rhino command. We're still working through those, but for the most part, you should be able to run your scripts without any issues. I'm going to go open an example of a CPython script that I have that has requirements for some packages. You can see on top of the file, there is a pound requirements line that has two packages listed in front of it. This is sort of like the convention we came up with for the scripts to contain their dependencies, the packages that they need. Once you hit play, the language runtime will detect those packages that are required, go through the packages, install those for you. On my machine, I've messed up something, so you're going to see a little bit of errors on this. The same thing works with C#, sort of like modern C# scripts. So now in Rhino, you can have C# scripts. You don't really have to create namespaces and classes for applications and all that kind of stuff. You can see in the global scope, I have two usings and a console.run line, and that runs and sort of like runs my package, runs my script. We have two examples in here for you also. So the example number one, I'm creating a mesh, very simple. If I run this, the mesh is created right there, and that's all using the Rhino command. And you can see there's no methods or anything like that. Everything is in sort of like the global scope of the script. And in another example, what we have is just a sort of like a class that I've defined here. And on top of the script in the global scope, I'm instantiating a new instance of that class and calling the main function on it. So you kind of have two ways of, if you want to organize your code in a different way, you can also do that. Same thing works, printing all the values and all that kind of stuff. We have the same sort of like package management mechanism with C# as well. So if I want to open a C# NuGet test, this is a script that I have that references a NuGet package. And what I grabbed from here is basically the format that NuGet provides to you. And we support a couple of different formats of how you can specify those packages. You can specify like this too. And all of this is sort of like described on the doc string. When you create a new C# script, you'll see all of that explained in here. But basically, this is how you reference a package. I'm importing sort of like those packages, adding usings in here in my scope, and sort of like creating an example of that in here and doing a console.run. So this actually makes a REST call to this website, gets the results and returns and shows the prints basically the JSON response for me. So if I hit run, NuGet will install that package. It'll compile and run the script, and you get the response, the JSON response from the website right here in your terminal. So far, that's basically it that I wanted to show you. There's a lot more to the code editor, but there's still things that are like not working properly, and we're in the progress of sort of like making them more robust, editing them, making them work, make sure they don't have big issues and whatnot. So yeah, start playing with it. Let us know what you think. I'm very excited specifically for all the CPython that you get to use on this. As the days go on, as the weeks go on, and we start updating these, I'll start publishing newer, more sort of like relevant examples of how you can actually use CPython in this code editor. With doing like cooler things and using packages that historically we have never been able to use, like NumPy, SciPy, TensorFlow, Keras, all those packages that we always wanted to use inside Rhino. We hope you like it. Let us know of your feedback on the forum post. Thank you.